Hudson, Esquire. And I'm Chad Theodore Logan. Yeah! And we're Wild Stallions!
Hello and welcome to Schweet Shiznitz. I am your host, Jason White.
And I'm your other hostess, Krista White.
And I'm your hostess, Ding Dong.
That sounds like you.
And we are here to talk to you about 80s movies, because that is what we do. That's our jam.
I could be a Twinkie.
You could be a Twinkie.
Aren't they made by Hostess?
They are made by Hostess.
What about Little Debbie? I could be a Swiss cake roll.
You're Little Debbie? I'm your Little Debbie.
Swiss cake roll.
Swiss cake rolls are the bomb.
Cosmic
They're better than
brownie.
Ho-Hos, which are made by Hostess.
I could be a cosmic brownie.
Yes, I think you have to take a little bit of foreign substance to become a cosmic brownie.
Something to think on.
So, I have a little bit of a bone to pick. We have, first of all, on the upside, we currently have gotten listeners from 18 countries and 30 states. That means we have 20 states with no listeners. So, I'm talking to you, Mississippi. Actually, I'm not talking to you, Mississippi, because you're not listening.
MISSISSIPPI.
That's a lot of pee-pee.
No. Speaking of pee-pee, Jason had to work on the toilet all day today.
Yes, we're recording a little later than usual because I spent most of the day fixing a broken flange on our toilet.
I prefer to say phalange.
A phalange?
No, a phalange is your fingers. I said a flange.
So no broken phalanges.
Your fingers still look fine.
Okay. You told Shelby about someone who broke a finger earlier.
I don't remember that.
You were reading texts that had typos.
Yes, but as usual, anytime we've had to fix anything on a home, it requires at least 2 trips to the hardware store.
Yes, and a broken finger that was stuck in someone's butthole.
Anyway, and Jason yells at least 1 curse word, so that happened today also.
Yes, I might have said it more than once, though.
I only heard 1.
Okay. So, those of you, we have picked up quite a few listeners in Alabama.
So you're back to complaining?
Alabama is next door to Mississippi. They're like next door neighbors right beside each other.
Really? That close, huh?
Really close.
You just open the door and there they are?
Like if you are in western Alabama and you take a step further west, you're in eastern Mississippi. That's how states work. Kind of like when you lived in Richmond, you were in eastern Indiana. And if you left Richmond going to the east, you were in western Ohio.
Well, I didn't just open my door and step over and I was in Ohio.
No, but if you left Richmond, as soon as you left Richmond, boom, you were in Ohio.
Okay. Well, if I went the other way, boom, I was in Centerville.
Yeah, but that's still in Indiana.
I know.
Terre Haute. I'm going to be in Terre Haute tomorrow. If I leave Terre Haute, go into the west, boom, I'm in Illinois.
All right.
So
what is your point here?
The point is, our Alabama listeners, if you know anybody in Mississippi, it could be your sister, it could be your cousin, it might be both, your sister and your cousin. Tell them about us. Tell them to give us a listen. We need some Mississippi listeners. It's fun to say Mississippi. I'd love to talk about our Mississippi listeners. Steve Austin is from Alabama. You may not know Steve Austin. If you don't, thank your lucky stars.
Is Steve Austin one of our listeners, though?
I don't know.
You should find out.
If you are listening, Steve Austin, find somebody in Mississippi. Tell them to listen to us. And we would appreciate it. We need some Mississippi listeners.
All right.
So,
why don't we talk to the ones who are listening right now about the movie that you made me watch today.
Okay, first, we don't have any new reviews. So, all of our Alabama listeners, get us some reviews. Anyone else, anywhere else, we'll take reviews from anywhere. If you're in Pennsylvania, California, Indiana, we have a lot of Indiana listeners because that's where we're from. Canadian listeners, Mexican listeners, we have listeners in Mexico. We'll take reviews from there. We had some listeners last week from France. If you're in France and you're listening to our podcast, drop us a review.
All right.
We'll take it. Now let us know, because French reviews don't show up in the iTunes reviews. I have to go look for them. But we'll take it. So this week we watched one of my, I would say childhood, one of my teenage years' favorite movies. It is a movie that my wife and co-host despises.
I don't despise it. I just wasn't excited. And I'm still not excited.
So I made a mistake this week. I put up a poll about couples in 80s movies and let our Twitter fans vote to see which couples they wanted to see in a movie. The options were Bill and Ted, great 80s couple.
When Harry Met Sally.
Harry and Sally, another great 80s couple. Let's see, Lone Star and Barf from Spaceballs, great 80s couple. And finally, Audrey 2 and Seymour from Little Shop of Horrors. Another great 80s movie couple. So, except for, Audrey likes to eat people. And our fans voted for Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I did not consult my co-host on the movies that I put up.
You didn't consult your co-host on anything.
So, my co-host was not very pleased with the options that were put up. But, there are times when we're going to have to watch movies we don't want to watch.
Well, the thing is, you've done this more than once.
Twice. Exactly twice.
I'm pretty sure it's more than twice.
It's been twice. I've counted them.
But you have to be nicer to your co-host if you want her to continue to co-host with you.
So this...
Or you might be here alone.
So this week we watched Bill and Ted's...
I like how you're just sweeping this under the rug like I'm not talking.
I brought it up.
I know, but you're not letting me finish talking.
We know how you feel. We know you're upset.
Who's we?
Me and the listeners.
You don't let me finish talking. If you brought it up, I should be able to finish.
I thought you were finished.
You say that a lot when I'm still talking. Oh, were you still talking? I thought you were finished. Do you hear my voice coming out of my mouth, Jason?
Yes.
That means I'm still talking.
The story of our marriage. I thought you were finished.
Go ahead. Move on.
Keanu Reeves, Alex Winter, Napoleon.
We're from history.
Billy the Kid.
Oh my God!
Joan of Arc. Sigmund Freud.
Tell me about your mother.
You a musician?
Beethoven.
Genghis Khan!
Abraham Lincoln.
Party on, dudes!
Socrates. George Carlin.
We're history.
If you guys are really us, what number are we thinking of?
69, dudes!
Bill and Ted's
Excellent! Excellent!
Excellent Adventure.
Party on, dude.
So, in 1989, this movie was released, February of 1989.
We were so close to it not even being in the era that we needed to speak
It had
about.
like 10 months to go. It was actually supposed to come out in 1987, but the studio that was going to release it went bankrupt. And so it had to wait 2 years for a new studio to pick it up. Or there wouldn't have been a Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Darn it.
The movie was directed by Stephen Herrick, and it starred Keanu Reeves, Alex Winters, and George Carlin. Keanu Reeves went on to have a big, successful career doing many things, including the Matrix trilogy. Alex Winters didn't do a whole lot. He was in Lost Boys, one of the vampires that got killed by the Frog Brothers.
By the way, like at least once a month, probably twice, my husband will be like, hey, you want to watch The Lost Boys?
I love The Lost
Hey,
Boys.
do you want to watch The Lost Boys?
I mean, when it comes to vampire movies versus like the Twilight movies, The Lost Boys is an awesome vampire movie.
So at some point, I'm sure we'll be watching The Lost Boys just so I don't have to hear about it anymore.
And George Carlin, one of the all-time great stand-up comedians, rest in peace, Mr. Carlin. And he was also, at one point, the conductor on Shining Time Station, featuring Thomas the Tank Engine.
Wow.
So this movie starts out in the future, in the year 2688, which is 700 years in the future of when the movie actually, when Bill and Ted exist in 1988. And so it starts out with them commissioning George Carlin to go back in time because he is going to need to save the future by helping Bill and Ted pass their history final. So we go back to 1988. We see Bill and Ted in history class, and the teacher's asking questions like, "Who's Joan of Arc?" To which Ted brilliantly answers, "Jonah's wife?" And that is not the correct answer. Later, as him and Bill are talking, he says, "Well, we know that she's not Jonah's wife." And Bill goes, "Well, then who is Jonah's wife?" And apparently not understanding that wasn't the point at all. Nobody in history class is super concerned with who Noah's wife was. And then the teacher calls them aside as everyone else is leaving and says, "Look, you guys have failed every portion of my class. If you do not ace your final, you will fail this class." And you later find out that failing this class means that they will fail school, period. They will be kicked out. They'll be done.
And Bill, is it Bill? Ted will be sent off to military school in Alaska by his father.
Yes, his father is a police officer, very hard-nosed. Ted's father, on the other hand, is, I don't know, maybe a college professor.
I don't know.
Kind of laid back, and he's married to a much younger woman who is apparently 3 years older than Bill and Ted, because there is a point where Ted says, "Bill, remember when your mom was a senior and we were freshmen?"
But she likes for Bill
To call her mom.
to call her mom, and that's just really freaky.
Yes, he calls her Missy, and she doesn't like that. She likes to be called Mom.
Eesh, it's gross.
So they're panicked, and they are trying to figure out stuff for their final. And Bill's dad goes up to the room and says, "Here's some money. Go down to the Circle K and buy something." And
because he wants to get all crazy with his wife in Bill's bedroom.
Yeah, which grosses them out.
That grosses everyone out.
And then as they're walking down the stairs, Ted keeps making comments about Bill's mom. "Remember when I almost asked your mom to the prom?" "Shut up, Ted."
It's your mom, dude.
And so they go to the Circle K, and they're panicking about their final. And then all of a sudden there's lightning, and the clouds are parting, and all of a sudden a telephone booth drops from the sky.
And God comes out.
And they go, "Something strange is amidst at the Circle K."
Bill, what? Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
Doesn't God come out of the telephone booth?
If by God you mean George Carlin, then sure. George Carlin comes out of the telephone booth, and he explains to them.
He's not the one who used to play God in the movies.
No, that
Who was
was
that? George Burns?
Yes, he's much older.
Carlin, Burns,
More or less the same thing.
yeah,
Same color, same car.
something like that.
So they find out that this telephone booth is a time machine that they can use to travel through time and find out all about history and ace their exam. So Just a moment later, another telephone booth falls out of the sky. And who's in that telephone booth?
George Carlin and George Burns?
Bill and Ted. And they come out and talk to themselves and tell themselves what's going on and to listen to George Carlin, whose name's Rufus in the movie. So they tell themselves to listen to Rufus, and then they start to walk off with Rufus, and Ted goes, "Ted, don't forget to wind your watch."
Ted, don't forget to wind your watch.
Which Ted does forget to do.
Who winds watches?
So there's a never-ending loop of Ted reminding himself to wind his watch and then
who
forgetting
winds
to wind.
watches? I had a Swatch watch. You don't wind
why
that.
don't they just have digital watches?
You don't wind that. No.
Batteries. So they first go to see Napoleon, and as they are getting ready to be blown up,
You say Neapolitan?
Yes.
Ice
He does eat
cream.
ice cream. So they are going back to the present, and Napoleon gets blown up and lands near enough to their time machine / phone booth that he gets dragged behind them and lands with them in the present. At this point, George Carlin announces that he is going back to the future, and they will be taking the rest of the journey
That's a whole different movie.
on their own. Back to the Future is a different movie.
Whole different movie.
Back
I
to
like
the
that one
Future,
better.
they use a car to travel through time.
A DeLorean.
In this movie, they were
A DeLorean.
Yes.
I like that movie better.
They were going to use a 1969 Chevy van. They decided not to because they thought using a van would be too close to Back to the Future.
Because Scooby and Shaggy were using the van.
Yeah, but they didn't want to be too much like Back to the Future. Apparently not thinking that Doctor Who uses a police box, which is basically a telephone booth.
Was Doctor Who being filmed then?
It was like on break. It had been around since the 60s. It took several years off, and then it came back.
Did you know this movie was directed by Stephen Herrick?
I did. I said that.
And then it stars Keanu Reeves, Alex Winters, and George Carlin?
Yes, we've already covered that.
I'm tired.
Wonderful. So, George Carlin goes back to the future, and then Napoleon falls out of a tree. And they're like, oh crap, Napoleon's here with us. So they leave Napoleon with his kid brother.
Not a good idea.
Because, he's a general of France, and, my kid brother can watch him. That makes sense.
Did you know that the original plot of this movie
You're getting ahead of us.
I just am telling just a little thing, okay? I'm just like throwing something in just for fun. Do you know that the original plot of the movie, though, was to have Bill and Ted visit and therefore accidentally cause all of the history's greatest tragedies, like, let's just say, the sinking of the Titanic, maybe the crash of the Hindenburg, maybe the Black Plague.
Yes, I did know that.
Maybe, the flood from Noah's Ark.
Yes. I knew all of those things because I wrote them down on here.
It doesn't say anything about Noah's Ark.
No, you added that.
Maybe like a Jonah being swallowed by a whale.
Yes, they caused all
That
that.
would have been Bill and Ted's fault.
Yes.
That would have been the original plot, but they didn't do that one.
And there's a fair chance that never actually happened. So that's a whole different discussion.
So they decided to leave Neapolitan with the little brother and go back in the past to get...
And they come up with the idea because they accidentally took Napoleon from the past.
So they're going to go get more.
That, hey, we can get a lot of historical figures from the past.
And then they're going to have a great... what are they doing?
History presentation.
Yeah, final or whatever.
And with
Let's
all
just
these
bring the
historical
people.
figures. Yes. So
We'll
first,
bring props.
First, they go get Billy the Kid.
Right? Props.
Yes. They have a big shootout because they're cheating at poker.
Oh, they actually say out loud because they're idiots. Hey, look, I've got 3 aces. Like, idiot.
And Billy...
They are pretty stupid.
Billy the Kid was a criminal / murderer.
Yeah.
So, like, he just plays along with them like he's just this
Yeah.
easygoing, cool
That seems
guy.
pretty dumb, yeah.
And he's not, like, trying to murder anybody or
Right.
anything.
The whole movie, he seemed like a really nice guy, and he really wasn't. So
No, he wasn't a good guy at
yeah.
all.
See, another reason the movie's dumb, Jason.
So,
See, exactly.
so they get him, and then they go find Socrates, who they call Socrates through the entire movie until their presentation when they finally say his name correctly. And they quote some Kansas song lyrics to Socrates.
All we are is dust in the wind, dude.
And to which he quotes back to them the introduction to the soap opera Days of Our Lives. So apparently that was a Socrates quote and not just some Hollywood person who made it up.
Hollywood Squares.
Yes, so they get Socrates, and then they go to England, where they don't actually end up getting anybody except for almost getting their heads cut off.
True.
You know, there are some... Ted almost dies.
I mean, the movie might have been better if their heads would have been cut off. Just saying. I mean, no?
No. It would have made the movie much shorter, which I guess you would have liked.
I didn't say that. They did go get Joan of Arc.
Yeah, but...
And they call her Miss of Arc.
Yes,
Which
because
is
of
pretty
Arc was
dumb.
her last name, apparently.
Yeah, sure.
So, they... Well, while they're in England, they meet two girls who they apparently fall in love with, even though they speak to them for like 30 seconds.
They thought that Bill and Ted were dumb. So that's not a big surprise. Guess who forgot to turn the furnace off, Jason?
That would be me.
I know.
So, Joan of Arc... We're not to Joan of Arc yet. So
We don't have to do it in order.
they meet the girls.
Fine. I said Joan of Arc.
The girl's dad shows up.
Joan of Arcadia.
Yes. The girl's dad shows up and says, put them in the Iron Maiden. And they think that he's talking about the heavy metal band. So
That's
they think
because
it's
they're
really
stupid.
cool.
Put them in the Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden? Excellent!
Execute them.
Bogus.
And then he says, execute them. And now it's not really cool. So they're at the execution. They think they're going to die. And then it turns out that by some means, the executioners have been replaced by Billy the Kid and Socrates. And they help them escape. They end up going from there to Vienna, Austria, where they abduct Sigmund Freud. And then all the abductions from this point go pretty quickly. They abduct Sigmund Freud, they abduct Beethoven, they abduct Joan of Arc.
Arcadia.
Yes.
Joan of Arcadia.
TV show.
There's a vehicle named after her. The Arcadia.
That's also incorrect. It's just an Acadia.
Nope, it's an Arcadia. Does that have a third row of seats or just
It does.
See? Yeah. Baby got back.
Seats.
So we've got Joan of Arcadia in there.
And then we move on to Abraham Lincoln.
Yep, 7 years ago.
And then there's some issues with the antenna, and they
It broke.
inadvertently end up in 1 million BC.
Hey, but you forgot about the dude with the bat.
Oh, yes, Genghis Khan.
Thank you. Because he's scary.
Yeah, so they get all these people. They end up, Genghis Khan, once again, is a mad, murdering psychopath. But,
Whatever.
they all get along.
But they find out that their antenna's broken, so they all chew a bunch of gum.
And eat chocolate pudding and use the gum and pudding cans to fix the antenna.
Yeah,
And
it works, of course.
manage to get back to San Dimas. And once they're back to San Dimas, he takes them all to the mall
Baby got back.
so that they can hang out for a little bit, see what they think of San Dimas, and then Bill and Ted can go find Napoleon.
They give him frozen drinks,
Yes.
thinking that's going to keep them in one spot.
Yes, but it doesn't.
Of course it doesn't.
all go find things that...
Trouble.
Well, some of them find things that they find interesting.
The Viking caveman dude goes and finds a metal bat and starts breaking crap
Genghis
up.
Khan.
I told you, he's a Viking caveman dude.
He's a Mongol.
He's a Viking caveman dude.
It's not that at all.
It's what I said.
Okay. And then Joan of Arc ends up
Joan of
becoming a fitness
Arcadia.
instructor.
She does a pretty good job.
She's actually a go-go. She's not
And I don't understand why she gets arrested. Well, I mean, she wasn't doing anything wrong.
I mean, she did like push the other fitness instructor off the stage to
She
take
was
over her
doing
class.
nothing wrong.
And then Beethoven goes and plays keyboards at the music store.
Again, doing nothing
Again,
wrong.
does nothing wrong.
I mean, Billy the Kid, like, shot his gun up through the ceiling. That's a problem.
Yeah. But him and Socrates were flirting with girls.
Socrates didn't do anything wrong.
No, except for he was with Billy the Kid.
Association, I guess.
And then Abraham Lincoln didn't really do anything wrong.
He went to the old-time photos and got his picture taken, and the photographer tried to take his beard and his hat.
But they were really his beard and hat.
Correct. He was fighting for them.
So
So they were all getting arrested.
And they all got taken to jail while Bill and Ted were trying to find
Dynamo.
Napoleon. And while they were off finding all these people, Napoleon was doing all sorts of things. He went bowling. He went to an ice cream place and had a giant bowl of ice cream and was having all these bizarre experiences of San Dimas.
His brother left him.
And then after the bowling experience where...
His brother left him.
Yeah, he got thrown out of the bowling alley.
Because he couldn't pay for it because his brother left him because
Right.
his brother's a turd. He said he was boring.
He said that he was being... I think he said...
Don't make it up just to say a word you shouldn't say now.
either a reference to male genitalia or the poop chute.
Okay, let's move on.
And so then they're like, great, how are we going to find him? If you were in San Dimas, where would you be if you were Napoleon? And they're like, Waterloo, which makes sense because Waterloo was one of Napoleon's great battles. But Waterloo is also a water park in San Dimas. So they go to Waterloo and they find him, and he has become fascinated with the water slides to the place where he's like pushing kids out of the way to get ahead in line. And he's wearing his all white undergarments, which are basically see-through by the time he gets in the water. It's very disturbing. But they get him, take him back, go to the jail, do some time travel things to distract his dad, and then break everybody out of jail. Get back to the high school just in time because they're just getting ready to announce that everyone can leave because Bill and Ted didn't show up to do their final.
Then they do this amazing, of course, final presentation.
With no preparation.
Nope.
With no, like, somehow the lighting people know what to do, the music people know what to do, even though they just showed up at the last second.
Of course.
No planning or no preparation.
And it was the best ever, and they get a standing ovation, except guess what? They have all left in the telephone booth again.
Yes, and then they take them all back because the next scene you see the telephone booth's back at the garage, and there are no more historical figures there. So I'm guessing they all went back home.
And they're trying to play guitar, but they can't. And all through it, they say that they should learn how to play guitar, and they reference all through it Eddie Van Halen and how they should go get him to help them play guitar, but they never do.
Well, we can't be a most triumphant band if we don't get Eddie Van Halen on guitar. Well, we can't get Eddie Van Halen on guitar if we don't have decent instruments. Well, we can't get decent instruments if we don't have a great video. We can't get a great video if we don't have Eddie Van Halen on guitar. And they just keep going around in circles like this.
And, actually, they never asked him to be in the movie. And Eddie Van Halen said he would have been glad to appear in the movie had he been asked.
Yes.
But he wasn't asked.
Would have been happy to be in the movie.
Which just seems really dumb.
Yeah, considering he's referenced all through the movie from beginning to end. And all they would have had to do was make a phone call and say, hey, it would be great to have you for a cameo in this movie.
So they're all of a sudden they are not, they were trying to do the video and they feel like they've changed and they should be doing something different. And all of a sudden you see lightning and stuff outside the garage, and George Carlin comes in with the pretty ladies from France who now are in today's, which is the 80s attire, and he's brought them to be with them.
Again, just abducted them from the Middle Ages. I don't know where they were going to live. I don't know how they were going to provide for themselves.
To get married to men they didn't want to marry, that their dad was making them marry, and George Carlin saved them.
We're just going to drop you here in San Dimas in 1988, and you guys figure it out.
And he said that he had to do that because they were going to be a part of the band with Bill and Ted, and that was their future.
Yes, which clearly the band was in no position to make money, because not only do Bill and Ted not know how to play guitar yet, the one girl plays keyboards and the other one plays drums, and they don't know how to play those yet either.
Correct. And George brings them
new guitars.
New crazy electric guitars.
Yes, guitars that don't have tuners at the end of them. So,
and that was about it.
Yes, that's basically where the movie ends. The very last of the movie is they start playing very badly, and George Carlin looks at the camera and goes, "Trust me, they get better."
They do get better.
I don't trust him. Nope.
Because their music is supposed to change the world and bring about world peace and cause the planets to align and all of these wonderful things.
Yeah, I don't,
And that is the end of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. They do have a second adventure, which we won't cover because it came out in 1991.
Oh, no, that's horrible.
I've not seen the sequel, despite my love for this movie, but apparently they go to hell.
Oh, well, that sounds like a place they should be.
So we've already covered a bit of the trivia for this movie, the van and so forth. There were a few alternate casting options.
You weren't going to talk about your favorite scenes?
Favorite scenes. I have so many favorite scenes from this movie. I love, like, the scene where Ted falls down the stairs and then Bill goes down and thinks that Ted's dead because he sees someone stabbed through the armor. And then one of the soldiers comes back and he goes, "You killed Ted, you royal dickweed." And then Ted runs around the corner as he's fighting the guy and hits him over the head with something. And he goes, "Ted, you're alive." So that's one of my favorite scenes.
Great.
The scenes where Ted goes on and on talking about Bill's mom. "Remember when I almost asked your mom to the prom? Remember when she was a senior and we were freshmen?" Yeah, all those scenes are really funny. So
okay, let's move on to some alternate casting.
So Bill, some notable people who auditioned for the role of Bill and were not cast for whatever reason include Sean Penn, River Phoenix.
He's no longer alive.
No, and Pauly Shore, which there was a movie called Pauly Shore is Dead, but he's not.
Do you remember that time that your album, if you listen to it backwards, it said Paul McCartney's dead? But you're not really dead, are you?
Well, I'm not really Paul McCartney either.
Because you can't be dead because you're sitting right here, right?
Right. And then for Ted, Pauly Shore also auditioned, but he actually auditioned for Bill along with Brendan Fraser, and they went on to make Encino Man together.
Oh, you like that one too, don't
Yes.
you? What year is that one?
I don't know.
Let's not find out.
And then Josh Richmond, who I don't even know who that is.
Okay, let's do some critic reviews. You go ahead and read that for... No, go ahead.
Okay, so we have some critics' reviews, how some of the critics felt about the movie. First, we'll start with Kevin Hartley from Total Film. Kevin gives it a 4 out of 5, and he says it dodges the pitfalls of message-heavy teen movies and skirts the spite of the Dumb and Dumber era. It arguably helped birth. Add 2 innately lovable leads, and you can see it takes some smarts to sell something quite this daft.
I love the movie Dumb and Dumber.
I do too, but it's a 90s movie.
I'm going to read one. Carrie Rickey, Philadelphia Inquirer, gave it 1.5 out of 4 stars. Though its one-liners elicit the occasional chortle when Bill and Ted don medieval armor, there's an obligatory heavy metal joke. The film doesn't engage because its heroes don't engage with historical characters.
So Carrie did not like the movie.
She gave it 1.5. I mean,
It's better than 1.
yeah.
And Dennis King of the Tulsa World gives it 3 out of 4. Ultimately, this movie has a 78% on Rotten Tomatoes, so 78% of the reviewers gave it a positive
Are
review.
you going to read what Dennis says here?
Dennis says, what really makes it all work are Reeves and Winter. They're such appealing, wide-eyed idiots that it's impossible not to pull for them. They make a great team.
That reminds me of something, talking about whether the movie, holds up or not. There is a point in the movie where they get kind of lovey and then they yell and call each other fags. Not cool.
Not cool.
That doesn't hold up today.
That does not hold up at all. That is actually right after the scene I talked about where he finds out that Ted's not dead.
Just letting you know. I'm going to read an Amazon review from Greg M., who gives it 1 star. Maybe the worst movie I've ever seen. I know this movie was an 80s cult movie, and what is that I seen? I don't think that's typed right.
Well, that's what he wrote. Greg does
great.
not have great grammar.
Okay, I have to read it as it is, even though I want to correct his grammar. And I seen the rating on it was quite high, so for $5 on Blu-ray seemed like a good deal. How on earth could anyone think this is a good movie? To each his own, I guess. I didn't think it was funny at all. There are some great 80s movies, and this is definitely not one of them.
His grammar is definitely not one of them either.
That is correct. I was going to try to fix it. It just drove me crazy.
Yes. Now, that was from Greg M. The next one we'll read is from Greg Smith.
I hope his grammar's better.
Greg Smith gives it 5 stars, and his review is titled Our Dim-Witted Heroes. All. And it sneaks in a bit of history. I feel like I missed something here while we're at it. With the small appearance of Jane Wiedlin of the Go-Go's as Joan of Arc, what could be more fun? Definitely missed part of that review.
Okay, I'm going to read Edgar Incendio? 1 star. Really overrated. I'm sorry. I just don't see how people can get this. It's not funny in the least. The plot is... I can't say that.
The R word.
The plot is the R word. The acting even more so. It obviously took the main characters no time at all to memorize their lines. Heinous, dude. Heinous, thank you. Like excellent is basically the whole movie. It takes real effort to make a movie this monotonous. I cannot talk today, can I?
Apparently not.
For that, I applaud the director. The first time I saw it, I thought it would be funny, but I fell asleep. Real comedic.
So, Edgar has really bad taste in movies?
And I can't read or speak.
No. And
heinous dude.
Anthony Defects gives it 5 stars.
Defects. He defected.
And says, be excellent to one another.
How about to each other?
Or to each other.
Just
yes.
wondered.
One of my favorite movies of all time. When it first came out, I wasn't interested in it. But when I saw it being played by someone else, I realized it wasn't how I thought it would be. The movie added so much to our current lexicon with its party on dude and other famous enduring quotations. The movie sought to combine history, ethics, and comedy.
Well, isn't that special?
This on Amazon, it also had overwhelmingly 5-star reviews. I had to dig pretty deep to find the 1 stars, but there were a couple, so I shared them.
That's great.
So
I give it 1 star.
We rate in Shiznitz.
I give it 1 Shiznit.
Would you like to expound?
I think that they've probably already figured it out. What would you give it?
I'm going to give it 4.5 Shiznits.
You go ahead and do that.
It is not quite a 5 Shiznit. It's not one that I would watch day after day over and over again. But it is one that I could definitely sit down and watch most any time and enjoy and get a laugh out of. I don't, because most of the time I'm sitting with someone who doesn't enjoy the movie quite as much as I do.
Just like I don't make you watch Dirty Dancing over and over.
No.
It's just an agreement we've come to. Well, this is the time of the show
Now
that we have to say
the
goodbye.
time has come
So in closing,
for us to close.
I'd like you to know that you can follow us on Twitter
And you can follow us
at Schweet Shiznitz.
at Schweet Shiznitz.
You can follow Jason at
At Gravy Boat Pirate.
You can follow me at
at
Krista White
Krista
73.
White 73.
Can you please stop singing?
Or on Instagram.
Are you done? Instagram at Schweet Shiznitz. Email us at sweetshiznitz@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Schweet Shiznitz.
Shiznitz.
Share our posts, please.
Please.
And our
Please.
tweets.
Please.
Let your friends, family, and followers know about us. I mean, you can tell everybody. Tell your boss.
Tell your friends. Tell your family.
Tell your teacher. Tell your kids' teachers.
Tell your boss.
This is the best gift you can give us besides money. Give us both. We like money too. Hey, it was my birthday not very long ago. Did you get me anything? I don't think you did yet. I haven't seen anything yet. Jason didn't get me anything yet either.
Give us money.
Jason, you didn't get me anything yet either.
We already have it set up. We know what we're getting you.
Oh, you have it set up?
Yes.
I don't understand what that means.
You know.
Okay. Anyhow, you can find Schweet Shiznitz on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you
Stitcher.
find quality podcasts.
Podbean.
Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us.
Please.
Your ratings and reviews make us more visible and help others to find us. So please review and rate us.
Both rate and review.
I cannot speak. Again,
Rate, review.
Schweet Shiznitz is paid for by listeners like you.
Yes, you.
To be a supporter of Schweet Shiznitz, please go to patreon.com/Schweet Shiznitz.
Forward.
Support will get access to bonus content. I'm not sure what kind of bonus content would come from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
They're making a new one.
I'm guessing it would,
They're making Bill and Ted 3.
they are not.
They are.
Oh, dear Lord. I'm guessing that bonus would come from Jason. Anyway, we will also mention you on the air and send you gifts and surprises.
Surprise!
Surprise, here's a snake.
It's a picture of me in a thong.
Ew, you don't want that. I mean, it's wonderful.
You're my wife.
It's wonderful. I can't share that with you. It's just mine. Only mine. Anyway, that's all we have for today.
That is it.
And we will see you next
if
week.
you want more, we can give you more.
Well,
But
you have to pay for it.
yes, you have to pay for it. So that will be in the bonus content.
We need to let these people go.
We need to let them go.
Yeah, we will talk to you right here next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.